Hello everyone. So we are now moving faster and faster to assignment 2. So what I would like to do is basically divide the rest of the teaching for this semester into 2 lessons. This is lesson 1 and the next one will be lesson 2. So as I said, or as I mentioned in the announcements, how we would progress towards the ending of this semester, what I suggested that's what we will do. Now, obviously, these 2 lessons that I will produce will not be all you need to learn. Obviously, I will want you to actually have a look at the module 4 and browse through materials. Also through module 3, I noticed I have included actually quite a lot of information relevant for assignment 2 in module 3. We will go through it today, just to make sure that that I know what's in all modules and that we agree on what to read and what it's possible to ignore if you want to. So so the first thing I wanted to say for today is that reading is not very simple, and I have taught this unit for a number of years now, and I'm always amazed at how much needs to be explained, because a lot of things that I, obviously being so old, I take for granted. And you know how, when you have children, you forget how it was when you were a baby. Well, it's the case with me. A lot of things I take for granted, and a lot of things I realize actually are not clear to students for whatever reasons. So let me say the following, and I have explained it in module 4, so I definitely want you to actually read through that chat I produced there for you in module 4. So here it is. When you are a teacher and you are put in front of the students, it doesn't matter whether they are 2 years old or whether they are 18 years old. Your role is to support. And some of you know what this means, but I will need to reiterate it because I don't think it is actually comprehended enough. In fact, I think from summer semester I had a lot of students not quite grasping the idea of what it means to support students in learning to read. It doesn't mean to give them tasks. Because if you are, say, 3 years of age and I give you a task to do and you do not know what to do, what do I do? Right? However, very often when students try to take shortcuts through assignment 2 and replicate their own experiences in it, they got into trouble. I had assignments where students were saying, well, I will give them a book and I will tell them to summarize the book and I will ask them to make a presentation on the. Well, that's fine. I'm not quite sure how the student got all these ideas about what to do, but the question I had from the perspective of assignment 2 is, how did you expect students to actually succeed? Now, there's a huge tradition in Anglo-Saxon culture, and I'm not saying it's not in Europe, probably Europe is worse. So there will be pockets in the Western world where people actually do more than this. But overall, the situation is that teachers believe that they will pop into the class with one book or so and then pop out. We are living in the world of resources. This is the 21st century, and your children already since the age of 2, if not earlier, are sitting on their mobile devices and playing with them, watching stuff on it, being interactive with it. They know everything about the possibility of things being more dynamic, more interactive, and yet they come to our classrooms and all they have is the magnificence that comes out from our mouth and the book, which is static. And we call it you name it. There's a lot of people with sexy titles and who produce a lot of academics who produce sexy titles and give to their methods sexy names, but if you were to actually look critically at all of that, it's just old stuff from the 19th century, and I wouldn't mind if it actually did the job. But first of all, it neither describes the job. When it describes the job, it's actually bad, and most of all, there is nowhere an understanding of what the student is. Yeah, not even who, but what the student is, right? The same as what you are. What are we? We are a walking history, interacting with whatever is happening out there, and how we actually react or respond to the circumstances depends on our history. You know it. Because in court, if someone commits some crime, the reason why in the West we have a court is actually in order to understand the circumstances of the person who actually committed the thing. It's not even to wonder whether he or she did that or not. We often may know that person did it, but the idea is to actually establish the context of this person so that we can actually decide what to do next, right? So we know that we are products of our past. But in schools, for some reason, this is not very well integrated. This idea is not very well integrated. So this is what we want to do in this unit for assignment 2. We want to actually understand that it doesn't matter what policies may actually, okay, policies are great, as I said in the collaborative session we had last week. Policies are great, but what's required is for us to now intelligently interact with those policies. So if people, as I said, want explicit clarity, all this, like everything that the theory of meaning tells us is, it's not possible. Clarity and explicitness are not possible things to achieve. You cannot be clear for anyone. You cannot take responsibility for my actions or for the action even of your own children, right? So you can't also take responsibility for the actions or comprehensions of your students. But what you can do is put in place tools that allow children to grapple with the questions that emerge in their little heads as they try to go about the task that they're trying to solve. So, say from the perspective of literacy, it might be to create a text, to read a text, to create something for someone, right? But in order for me, even if I want to write an article, it's well known among us. Maybe it's a CDU thing, or maybe it happens to everyone. But sometimes, me or my colleagues can write a paper in 1 or 2 days, but sometimes the first day is just like one paragraph, right? Because so many questions happen and emerge in our minds, and now we need to develop strategies. And if I didn't have a particular education I had and specific experience I had, and also the training I gave myself, not even obtained from people, but I gave myself, and that's what we call experience, professional experience, I wouldn't know where to look for answers. So I am my own support. But when I don't know, I ask others, right? So I'm looking continuously for some resources that help me answer the questions that emerged in my mind as I am grappling with this particular task. So that's what's called support. Is looking, it's opportunity to access tools and resources that help me to resolve the problems that emerge for me as I am trying to go about a specific task. Right? So giving a student a task is not a reading support, and this is what I will be examining in your assignment 2. I will be examining whether you are able to help your students grapple with the questions that they may experience as they try to read, whatever reading means. Right? Whether you are able to help them to respond to the questions for themselves, because you can't respond to their questions. I know that other people may teach you that you can respond to their questions, but I would then counteract it saying, if you know what's on their mind, where is your Nobel Prize? Right? We all know it, that neuroscientists are everywhere in the world in a race trying to map the mind and trying to find out how it works. And they're in dire straits. Nobody knows. We're trying to guess. We're learning a few things. We're still in the nappies. But in education, we've covered it all. We know each other. We can produce clear feedback to the learning student. That's a nonsense. That's a nonsense. It doesn't hold water. And I've written one paper on, and I'm writing a couple more at the same time now, as I actually found some moment to breathe. But anyway, so in this assignment, I will be checking not whether you can design a 5 learning resources. Yes, that I will actually test too. And this is much easier than you might think, to design a sequence of 5 uh, lesson experiences. That's fine. We will commit a little bit of time to that. But what I mainly want to do in assignment 2 is to see whether you can support your students. Right? So that's what assignment 2 is about. Assignment 2 is about identifying ways through which you can support your students. I believe that maybe another reason why the idea of supporting the student is not very much popular among teachers, because it seems like since 1925 the problem has been solved, right? Vygotsky said that in order to support your students, you just talk to them, or you make them talk to each other. Well, I want to tell you that Vygotsky lived, when he wrote it, it was 100 years ago. He knew as much as he knew, and he lived in a particular environment of dark Russia in 1925. Yes, he was Russian. He did not live in America nor in Australia. He lived in Russia, and resources were scarce, if any. Technology was of a kind we have was not invented. The opportunities for drawing on the community intelligence as we have now was not there. How can we reduce all the difficulties that students experience, all the mini management problems that they feel, into a we call it a dialogue, into a conversation between a teacher and a student? Well, we can't. For one simple reason, is that you do not know what question the student has as they are grappling with a specific task. You don't know. You're not a mind reader, right? Hence, we will be actually focusing on support, which is not about mind reading, but how can you actually support students so that they can actually help themselves. Sorry, I paused because my throat is a little bit funny today, and I'm